Hello, good morning, and welcome to Morning Brew on Hughes of the World, our TV, our YouTube channel on TV, YouTube TV. How you all doing this morning? I'm Graham Hughes. Hello, and special birthday greetings to Catherine if you're watching this. Or you're upstairs, and as it's Catherine's birthday today, she's 27 again, which is wonderful. No, actually, you can't say that, can you, when you're in your mid-40s? Because it's like a funny joke, but when it's your partner, like, that's a bit too young, Graham. But yeah, no, Kat's the same age as me now. She's caught up, finally. Obviously, Sarah's birthday was yesterday as well, so we're all members of the old 4-7 club. Anyway, so listen, big shout out to everyone in the chat. We've got Billy Kershaw, we've got Sarah, we've got Richard, we've got Lost Missionary, we've got Gallifrey and Wren. We've got Saz in there and Sid. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the show. If you'd like to join our socialites in the chat here and have your, speak your brains and have it come up on the screen, all you need to do is hit the big juicy subscribe button, or just caress it gently. Give the subscribe button a tickle. Wait for approximately 1 minute, and you'll be able to join in with the rest of the crew. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about Peter Mandelson again. This is extraordinary, isn't it? I mean, the covers of the papers that we'll get into in a moment, the front pages, are like, Stone must go immediately. And it's just, fair enough, that's a stance that you could take, but also, there's also the fact that these same newspapers, especially the Mail, when Boris Johnson had a report that showed that he had at least 19 parties that we know about during lockdown. 19. When you weren't allowed to visit your nan, yeah, when she was dying, you couldn't be with her, but he had 19 house parties, yeah. Do you remember that? Yeah. But they said, is that it? That's what they said. They said, is that it? Happy birthday, Kat, says Sarah. Oh, I'll pass that on to Catherine from you, from Sarah. Thank you very much. It's very, very kind of you. Happy birthday, Kat. Oh. Yeah, we were in the same school. We were in the same year. We were in the same year in school in Liverpool when we were kids. Back when we were kids. Richard Wood, thank you very much for the £10 super chat there. Wow, that's really kind of you. Thank you, Richard. Yeah, mods. What? Mods and the rockers. We got two types of people in the chat. We've got mods and rockers. And some rockers are mods and some mods are rockers. Anyway, what the hell just happened? Well, I mean, the first sign of danger. Also, I should point out that I got another Guinness World Record yesterday. I went to visit the Guinness World Record HQ just by Tottenham Court Road Station. And we did a podcast. It's like an hour-long podcast called What's the Record? And as part of the podcast, they get their guests to do a record, and it's usually something a bit daft. So this one was for identifying the most European capital cities by landmarks in 60 seconds, and I got 20 of them. To be honest with you, I could have done a lot better than that if I had a bit more prep time to do the challenge. But, that's all right. 20. The idea is we set a benchmark, and then people try and, you make it a record, and then people try and break the record. So there you go. So that's my third Guinness World Record, actually. But I'm probably gonna use that because those frames are dead expensive. To get one of those frames is like 60 quid. So I'm probably gonna take my proper record, my difficult record that took me 4 years and 1 month and nearly cost me my life, going to every country of the world without flight. But I'm gonna take it out of that frame and put it into the official Guinness World Record frame, which you can only get if you are a registered Guinness World Record holder. I didn't know that until yesterday. I went on the website to look at the prices and everything, and it turns out you can't even buy one of those frames unless you have a Guinness World Record. Fun times. It was a really good interview. It was really fun. It was a really good laugh. It's a really lovely team over there. And so that'll be going online, I think, in next month, right? I mean, might have it. Hopefully, I've done enough work to get people over to this channel. We might have to talk about travel a little bit and other things other than politics for a little while. But they've got 13.1 million subscribers on their YouTube channel. That'll be going out on their YouTube channel. So hopefully we might get a little bit of a bump next what's it called? Next month. So I've got my little, I got a cap, and I got a copy of Guinness World Records 2026. I also got a little badge that says officially amazing. So that I might put that on. I've got a little badger badge somewhere as well. I don't know where my badger badge has got. My badger. So you can scan the QR code, and you can take the record selector to test to find the perfect record for you. And so let's get record breaking. One of the things that we mentioned, and we didn't really talk about this on the actual podcast itself, because obviously you can't talk about this kind of stuff when you're sort of promoting. Sorry for the noise. I'm taking my little pin badge out. We were talking a little bit about the fact that when I went traveling to every country, I did it on a shoestring budget. And one of the reasons why I did it on a shoestring budget was because I wanted to show that it was possible for someone like me, who's not a trust fund baby or a nepo baby or whatever, trust fund kid, to be able to go and visit these places and travel around the world. Because a lot of people who break Guinness World Records, they don't do it because they're rich and bored. Do you know what I mean? And they've got the money to do it. And of course, if you were a millionaire, you could get to every country in the world without flying in a year. You absolutely could, because you charter a private yacht, or you'll own a private yacht, I guess. So yeah, so that's good. That's good. Congrats, Graham. Thank you. So I've now got the Guinness World Record for the fastest time to visit all countries without flying, which is 4 years and 1 month. And then I've also got the record for the most countries visited in 1 year without flying, which is 133. And then we've got this one, which is this new one, the big certificate in the big frame there, which is looking at a laptop screen and saying, "Yeah, that's Podgorica," which is a little bit, on a scale of. And do you know what? It's funny because I'm if you get Ripley's Believe It or Not from 2015 there. There's a double page spread about me, about my travels, and in the Guinness World Records book there for 20, and you can't really read that because it's too shiny. Guinness World Records for 2016, I am actually in that, but it's like page 200 in the margin, and there's no pictures. And I did say to them when I was there, I was like, well, Ripley's did do a double page spread about my travels with like literally dozens of pictures from all the countries I went to, and they were like, oh, that's okay because we own Ripley's. And I'm like, oh, sorry, I thought you were rivals. It's like, no, it's the same company. It's probably like a Canadian hedge fund or something that owns all this. They probably own Lonely Planet now as well. Anyway, because that's just the way the world is going. It's a nice to have, isn't it? So yeah, morning Liam, morning Saz. Hello, hi Martin. We've also got Saz is showing off the badges. The badger. Okay, so let's talk about what the hell just happened. Well, the government appointed Peter Mandelson as US ambassador last year. It's already controversial. A political appointee, no, not a career diplomat with decades of baggage. Oh my God, the baggage on this. This is a guy who's been sacked twice from government. Twice, not just once. To lose one parent is misfortune. To lose two seems like carelessness. To lose one job as working for the government seems like that should end your political career. To do it twice should absolutely end your political career. But this is the world in which we live. No one else could possibly do this job. I hate that attitude. No one else could possibly do this. No one else could possibly pull this off. Like, yes, they could. They absolutely could. Stop thinking this magical thinking. Like, there's one person who can do this magical thing. And it's like, no, anyone could do that job. There was a woman doing the job, and she was doing an all right job, and Trump kind of liked her. Okay, leave her in place. No, we've got to get rid of her and put some dickhead in charge. And this argument that no one else could do the job. I mean, someone else has been doing the job since September. Who? I don't know. Doesn't matter at all. Doesn't really matter. You just got to do your ambassador things. Just turn up to receptions and smile and hand out the Ferrero Rocher. It's not exactly putting Pete Mandelson in. It's not exactly a low risk choice for one of the most sensitive diplomatic posts in the world. And the security vetting for this post was carried out by an organisation called UKSV, which stands for UK Security Vetting. Creative use of naming nomenclature there. This is the gold standard, apparently. They do deep background checks, financial scrutiny, personal relationship, potential vulnerabilities. This is not a box-ticking exercise. It's invasive for a reason. I have at least 2 friends who have gone through it. And yes, they do ask you about your porn preferences. They ask you about all your sexual partners. They ask you about all this. They ask you about every night you've been out. They ask you a lot of very personal questions. But Mandelson failed the developed vetting. And this is the key bombshell. Failure at this level is rare. Most candidates do pass, some with conditions. A serious and outright no is a very serious red flag. And the FCO, the Foreign and Commonwealth, and it's the FCDO now. So the FCDO overrode that decision. And this isn't unusual, not just unusual. This is extraordinary. This is crazy. It's technically allowed, but it's almost never been done in history. Because if you're overriding your own security services, you better have a very good reason. Now, Starmer claims he didn't know until Tuesday this week, and that's the entire defense. Everything hinges on whether or not you believe this, and I believe that your stance on Starmer will be affected by his behaviour in the past, and if he's fucked you off, you'll be very, very likely to think that he's lying about this. Whereas if he hasn't fucked you off and you think he's a good leader, I mean, if there's anyone still out there thinking that he's a really good prime minister, then you might think that, there's a perfectly innocent explanation for everything. I've got a friend on Facebook who's he thinks that everything that's happening in America, he's American, he thinks that everything has a perfectly rational explanation, and you're just like, really. It's weird. It's like the dog in the meme, drinking tea or coffee in a burning house, saying this is fine. Veg Pie with a £2 super chat saying happy birthday, Cat! Yay! Thank you. Any birthday super chats this morning will be passed on to in the form of lunch, and we might go out tonight. So we will be going out tonight. So something I should say before I forget to mention it. There won't be a agenda this afternoon because I'm going to be out for lunch. So I'm just moving my microphone, and I realise I do need to text Phil in case he doesn't realise that we're not. Hi Phil. Can't do the show today. So yeah, I don't know what to say. Sorry. Cat's birthday. Going out with the kids. There you go. Okay. Cheers, Phil. Right. So now that I got that done, and I won't be able to do the Friday night social tonight. Well, I won't be able to host it. I might put in an appearance. I might just come. So Mike Dix will be hosting it tonight. So if you want to watch Mike tonight, then you are very welcome to do so at 9:30, and give him all the love and support that you can, because obviously it's not that easy producing these shows. I know I make it look easy, but it's not that easy producing these shows. Filming it and thinking of things to say and making some notes before the show, and doing a Rubik's cube while I'm presenting. It's not that easy. Hi Scott, hi Martin Harrow, hi Elle, hi Diz, says Veg Pie. Everyone's saying hello to each other. That's really nice. There was nothing else on. Martin, is that why you're watching this? Sorry. My sister loved the Waltons and hogged the TV whenever it was on. Good night, John Capol. Good night, Kevin John. Good night, Mary Lee. Good night, Susie Lou. They all have 2 names. It's a thing in America, isn't it? I wouldn't just be Graham in America. I'll be called like Graham Kevin or something. Kevin Graham. Hey, have you seen Kevin Graham? God, Keith. I would have been here yesterday, but I was still in the sleep clinic. Oh no. Veg Pie. Is that a euphemism, or is there literally a clinic to help you sleep? That's really cool. Do you get to sleep in the sleep clinic? If the bottom standard is Trump, Starmer is an angel. That is very true. You know, I mean, everything's relative, as Einstein pointed out. Yeah. But yeah, so, but look, I can't get this. Look, I can't stress this enough, right? This looks terrible, right? Not me. I don't mean this. I don't. Well, maybe it does, but I mean that. Honestly, for Starmer, this looks absolutely terrible. Starmer previously told the public that Mandelson had clearance. That statement now looks, let's be generous, incomplete. At worst, misleading. At best, based on information that was already compromised. The government knew there were concerns. Even before the vettings, there were reputational warnings, including Mandelson's leaks to Jeffrey Epstein. This wasn't a clean slate candidate. The appointment was announced before the links. Sorry, not leaks. We didn't know about the leaks. Sorry, take that back. Rewind the tape. Swipe over it like an old episode of Doctor Who. Mandelson's links to Epstein were already known. His leaks to Epstein weren't. But this was not a clean slate candidate by any stretch of the imagination. The appointment was announced before the vetting was finished. That's the real procedural sin. You lock yourself into a decision politically and then scramble to make reality fit it. This is classic Westminster arrogance. Civil servants allegedly overruled security advice in 48 hours. Think about that. Weeks of investigation overwritten in 2 days. And that screams of panic, pressure, I don't know, pandering maybe to the Americans. Maybe they had a hand in this. I don't know. But Starmer's line of defense is, I didn't know. Not, it wasn't me. It was, I didn't know. So with what's his name? With that dickhead who was wasn't it? Boris Johnson. He just said it wasn't me, didn't he, for everything? It wasn't me. I wasn't there. If I was there, then I wasn't. And I was only there for a minute. And I was just, what can you do? Someone gives you cake. I was surprised. I was ambushed by cake. But yeah, Starmer's using the didn't know defense. He says, nobody told me that you had a girlfriend that looked like a boyfriend that I had back in February or something. This is doing a lot of heavy lifting. Nobody told me. And if this is true, that is catastrophic incompetence. The Prime Minister appoints a top diplomat without being told they have failed security vetting. That is not reassuring in any stretch of the imagination. That is distinctly alarming. If it's false, that is deliberate deception. But if he did know, then the Parliament and the public were misled. That's career-ending. You can't stay on as Prime Minister if that's the case. But either way, it is bad. You don't land in a situation where both possible explanations are awful unless something has gone very wrong structurally. Now, Ollie Robbins has been forced out. He's the top civil servant at the time. He's now gone. Clean break, right? Problem solved. Well, not quite. Is Robbins responsible? Maybe partly. He was in a position when the decision was made, but this wasn't some mid-level admin error. This was a major national security call. Like, this is, and it feels like, even if it's not, even if it's perfectly innocent, even if you want to, be naive and say, no one knew about this. No one has conversations. Everyone just keeps to themselves in their own little bubble in Parliament. No one goes to the strangers bar, has a few too many, and chats about this stuff. Is this classic Whitehall blame shifting? The political system protects itself. A senior official takes the hit. The ministers say clean. We've seen this film before. Listen, the ministers, the minister side of this, they've all said, including the Prime Minister and all other ministers have said we didn't know about it. Every single one. Including people who were in the Foreign Office at the time. A key unanswered question here was who actually signed off on overriding the vetting and why? Why was this? What happened? Why did this happen? And the cover-up here is reports that officials considered withholding documents from Parliament. And this is where it gets really murky. Parliament demanded all papers. That's a binding motion. Parliament decided that, not the government. It wasn't it was not a polite request. If documents were withheld, that is a legal and constitutional problem. And it's not just spin. It's You're edging into contempt of Parliament territory there. And that's, the transparency only arrived after journalism through The Guardian reporting that came out at 3:00 yesterday afternoon, forced it out. And this didn't come out voluntarily. It had to be dragged out. They found out about this on Tuesday, but no one was notified until Thursday when The Guardian went with this story. Phil says, okay, have fun. Thanks. Thanks, mate. Thanks, mate. Cool. Cool. The opposition pile-on, predictable, but maybe in this case quite effective. Kemi Badenoch called it preposterous. Her argument is there's no way that Starmer didn't know. Politically convenient, but not absurd on the face of it for her to say that. Ed Davies calling for an inquiry. He wants to privilege a committee to investigation into whether Parliament was misled. Everyone's reaching for the Boris Johnson comparison. If you mislead Parliament, you've got to resign. That's the standard Starmer used himself when he was in opposition. So the irony here is thick as Liz Truss, which is the thickest thing we know of in the universe. She's thicker, she's denser than a neutron star. She's so dense, she bends light. She is so absolutely, incredibly imbecilic. It goes beyond all human reason. And the thing is, it's not just that she is an imbecile. She sounds like an imbecile as well. My name's Liz Truss. I'm going to go on an adventure and be a prime minister. That's how thick she is. So this is the irony here is as thick as Liz Truss, which is very, 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 very thick. Labour spent years hammering the Conservatives on standards. Now they're being judged by the same yardstick, and they all seem to be trying to wiggle out of it. And this isn't just about Mandelson. This is a bigger structural flaw in the way that the government operates. Government departments had the power to override security vetting. That's now been suspended, by the way. But it raises the question, why the hell did that power exist in the first place? Politicians announcing decisions before due diligence. This is a recurring Westminster disease, I guess. I don't know a better word for that, but it's something that happens a lot in Westminster, where they announce decisions or announce policy decisions, announce what they're going to do to a press conference or in an interview, rather than presenting it to Parliament, which is what they're supposed to do. Announce first, check later, hope nothing explodes. See you later. Cat's going out for a run. The system prioritises optics over risk, and Mandelson was a big name appointment. This is prestige over prudence, and this erodes trust. The public sees rules bent, warnings ignored, and then a scramble to cover it up. That corrodes trust fast. And how bad is this for Starmer? That's a big question. We've got to ask. And is it politically damaging? Yes. Headlines, pressure, calls for resignation, credibility questions, all of that stinks. Is this an existential crisis? No. At least not yet. There's a couple of things here. First of all, the Tories have put the bar so fucking low. Like, it's very easy to step, over it. Very, very, very easy. It's like 1 inch off the ground at the moment, right? And Labour say they were supposed to be raising that and raising the bar. Have they? Have they raised standards? Well, only as a reaction. And this is something I feel about this government. It's very, very reactive. It reacts to things. It's not as proactive as I think it should have been. I think they should have come into office with not just sort of vague concepts of ideas of plans. It should have come into office absolutely. Like the guy who's just come in, Peter Magyar in Hungary, who's just going around with a baseball bat, twatting everyone who was part of the metaphorical baseball bat, who's twatting everyone who is part of the old Orban clique from the national broadcaster, who he lambasted. If you haven't seen that clip, it's worth a watch, where he just says, this channel has not allowed me to come on. It's not allowed any opposition people to come on. It's just been a mouthpiece for the Orban government. And on Monday, you're all fired. It was brilliant. You just watch it going, talk about. And he met up with the president, and there's a picture of him posing with the president of Hungary. And he put that out with a tweet saying, this motherfucker's getting the sack. They can either resign or we're going to kick him out because we've got a 2/3 majority. So fuck you all. We do what we like. And that is what fucking Labour have got a 2/3 majority. Labour have got a super majority in the House of Commons. They could just smash everything. They could, and we don't even need a super majority to change any laws in the UK, even constitutional ones. We don't have a written constitution. You just need a majority in Parliament. You know, the stuff that Starmer and the rest of them could have done in those first nearly 2 years now of government is astronomical. And did they? No, it was all softly, catchy monkey. But yeah, the Tories put the bar so low, so fucking low, that, you know, the expectations on Labour, they just turn around and say, well, you know, what did you expect? No, this is reality. But they have seemed to be reactive against Trump getting re-elected, reactive against, you know, what's happened in Iran and what's happening in Ukraine. There doesn't seem to be too much proactive thinking. And I think we've come to accept that now. And I think we've come to accept the fact that there's not much that's going to knock Starmer off his perch. Not because he doesn't deserve to be given the elbow, to given the old hi-ho, but because there's no one else to replace him. I think this is the big problem. We can talk about Angela Rayner, but she will be deeply, deeply unpopular with a certain segment of the Labour voting population, or the potentially Labour voting population, on the grounds that she's a gobby northern ginger woman. You know, let me tell you from personal experience. Well, I'm not a woman. Being a gobby ginger scouser doesn't really get you too far in politics and life and things like that, I have to say. But you know, being part of the establishment, that gets you far in life. But being outside the establishment and, you know, not paying stamp duty on a house that you bought for your disabled adult son is you know, that's beyond the pale, obviously. And then there's Wes Streeting, and I think everyone who watches this channel absolutely hates Wes Streeting because of his treatment of trans people, especially trans women, but also the treatment of the NHS. Let's face it, he hasn't showered himself in glory that in that respect either. You know, okay, fine, you know, have negotiations behind closed doors with the GMC, with you know, talking to doctors. Sorry, the BMA. It's the BMA, not the GMC. The BMA. Fine, you know, but don't slag them off in the media. Don't give lines out saying, "Oh, these doctors, what are they like?" Eh? Fuck off. No, you don't do it that way. That's not the way it should be done. But yeah, so, you know, look, how bad is this for Starmer? It's not a clear smoking gun. It's mercury. It's mercury? What's wrong with me this morning? It's murky. It's procedural. It's dependent on what can be proven. And everything hinges on the evidence, you know? If documents show that Starmer knew, he's in serious trouble and will be gone. But if they don't, he limps on, damaged but intact, which I think is going to be the mantra of Starmer's premiership, you know, damaged but intact. Labour MPs are nervous but not openly mutinous. There's some people who you know, nameless people in the cabinet, nameless people, ministers, nameless MPs saying this and that, but they didn't actually say what their names were. But yeah, they're not mutinous at the moment, and you don't fall as PM without your own side turning on you. Just ask Margaret Thatcher. Or just ask Theresa May, or Boris Johnson, or Liz Truss. Anyway, so this is a mess, right? No question, right? But sorry to upset the drama merchants out there, but it looks arrogant, sloppy, and possibly deceptive, and it raises serious questions about competence, transparency, and absolutely should be investigated properly. But I don't think this is going to be the thing to bring Starmer down. I might be wrong, in which case I will happily show my I was wrong and I accept responsibility pop up if he does resign. But I really doubt, after everything that's happened, this is going to be the one thing that sort of brings him down. There is no definitive proof yet of any deliberate wrongdoing by him personally. And without that, the political system tends to close ranks, and Westminster survives these things depressingly well. A senior civil servant goes, and a review is launched, procedures are tightened, everyone promises that lessons will be learned, and we all move on. Rinse and repeat. So yeah, Starmer's in trouble, but no, it's probably not the end of him. And the real story is not one man, it's not one appointment, it's a system that can only override its own security warnings and only admits to doing so once it gets caught. Not great, is it? Well, when I was traveling, I had a little notebook and I put loads of ideas and concepts and things in there. And they range from ideas for books and plays and screenplays, public works of art, which I'm not actually skilled enough to create myself, but I could commission someone if I had the money. And also politics. My mind turns to politics and what Britain could look like with a PR system, what Britain could look like with a House of Britain instead of a House of Lords, which represented the devolved regions of the United Kingdom, which yes includes Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland, but also we have regions around the country that better represent where people live. So you have the northeast, you have the northwest, you have the southwest, etc., etc., and the way that you would make that so it's as fair as it can possibly be. We can't really have an American situation where they've got the upper house is the Senate and they have two senators. Doesn't matter what the population of the Senate of the state that they represent, the two senators represent. That it doesn't matter. And I famously quote the example of Wyoming, which is less than 500,000 people, gets two senators, and California, which has 40 million people, has the same number of senators. So get around that and get around England just on its own having more say over the rest of the devolved nations by having a House of Britain that actually breaks England up as well, and makes sure that there's not too many people in any one given area of the country for it to be unfair for them to have the same amount of representatives or a proportional amount of representatives. Because I'll tell you this now, if it came down to it, I could see in a House of Britain, the Northeast and Northwest voting with Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland sometimes, if it's not the DUP banging the fucking drums on certain issues. So there was that, and there was also looking at the UN, because I was quite interested in the UN while I was traveling. Obviously, the world record was for UN member states, plus Taiwan and Vatican City, which have special overseer, special status to be able to attend debates, but they can't vote. And then you got Palestine, which is recognised by, which also I think has special observer status, but doesn't have a seat at the moment. Although the UK now does recognise Palestine as an independent country, which is good, a step in the right direction. But yeah, so what I was thinking is it's a bit mad that a country like Nauru, with a population of 8,000 people live in Nauru. Has it gone up to 12,000 now? Did some people come back? Nauru population. 11. God, did I just say 12,000? Did I just say 12,000? It's 11,947. Almost there. Nauru, the population of Nauru, the smallest country in the UN by population, because Vatican City isn't in the UN. It doesn't have a vote in the UN. It has a population of 12,000 people. And it has the same number of votes, not in the Security Council. So it has the same number of votes as China, which has 1.4 billion people. It's got the same number of votes as India, which also covers 1.4 billion people. Do you see the problem, right? So, also, you have nasty little fascist narco states like, I don't know, Guinea in Africa or America, the US. And they get the same number of votes as really progressive countries like the Nordic countries that actually give people rights. Workers' rights, renters' rights. You have the same number of votes for somewhere like Saudi Arabia, where they treat women like shit, as somewhere like Iceland, where the equality there is it's not perfect, but it's getting there, in terms of gender equality. So I always thought the system was a bit mad, and then we've got the Security Council, and they have a veto. But if you're on the Security Council, you have a veto over anything that the UN wants to do. So you could have 192 nations of the 193 voting for something, for a resolution, or to do something, or to say something, and then one member of the Security Council can say no. At the moment, I think Panama's on the Security Council. There's a few other countries on the Security Council. But the 5 permanent members are the UK, France, the USA, China, and Russia. And they all have a veto. So, do you think that America is going to allow anything to go through the UN that is possibly can be seen in any way as stifling the ambitions of capitalism? No. Can you see China putting anything through that pulls in authoritarian regimes? No. Can you see Russia voting for anything that's going to stem corruption around the world? No. In fact, they're going to veto it, and they do every fucking time. The reason why there hasn't been a proper resolution against Russia's actions in Ukraine that's passed through the UN because Russia has to give permission to do that. So imagine there's a naughty kid in school brought into the headmaster's office or the headmistress's office, head teacher's office, and gets a dressing down by the head. And then at the end of it, they say, I'm going to punish you by making you do lines, by making you write an essay, by making you stand outside the staff room at your face to the wall, by suspending you or whatever. And the kid gets to go, but I don't want to do that. And the headmaster's like, well, head teacher is like, oh well, okay, yeah. I suppose you do get the veto vote on your punishment for doing this terrible thing that you absolutely definitely did. And then the kid says, yeah, but I want you to say that I didn't actually do it. Yeah, but we know that you did do it. Yeah, but I want you to say there's no way of knowing. That is how mad it is. Or the other example I give is being able to choose your own jury. This is what they do in America, where they appoint people like the president, the king over there, the sovereign, the divine right, absolute sovereign of America, Donald Trump. He gets to knock down the buildings he wants to knock down. He gets to appoint people around him, the cabinet. They don't have to be elected in any way, shape, or form. And he can just put them in his cabinet. And then they're in his cabinet. And that's what... I mean, they could at least have a rule that the cabinet has to be made of members of the House of Representatives and the Senate. Like in the UK, where you're an MP, but you're also part of the government. They could have that rule, but no, it's just mates. It's just mates of the president. What a ridiculous system. And then if a president gets impeached, it goes to what? The Senate. The Senate. Are you fucking kidding me? That's like saying you're on trial for murder, and you've got a jury of 12 angry men, right? There might be women on it these days. It's not the 50s anymore. And you get to personally choose half of them. And you need a 2/3 majority to get convicted. And who do you choose? You choose your mum. You choose your busy mate who helped you hide the body. You choose some people that you've given loads of money to vote your way. Of course you do. What are you going to do? You're not going to go to jail. But that's the system over there. You get impeached. You get found guilty, essentially. And then it goes to the Senate to convict. And the Senate go, no, because it's all political. Because half the people there are on the same side as the fucking president. Effectively, they're paid by the president. Busy mates, Mar-a-Lago, Epstein Island friends. What a mad system. So in the UN, it's not that dissimilar. It takes two things. The UN's based in America, isn't it? The headquarters in New York, and that's quite typical. The UN was mostly set up by America. I know Britain has some influence in it as well, but mostly set up by America in the years after the war to replace the League of Nations. And two of the things that piss me off the most about American politics, i.e., you can't impeach anyone because it's just they get a say in their own punishment, which is crazy. And also the representation issue, where Wyoming has the same number of representatives in the Senate as California does, right? So how about we redo the UN? I mean, there's an opportunity to redo the UN right now with Trump and his League of Super Friends, or whatever the fuck he's called it. They had to pay $1 billion to join. The Board of Peace, the people who were bored of peace, so they were so bored of it, they started bombing Iran. So here's what I would do. I would have it so that your voting rights in the UN is proportionate to a certain score towards your population. So yeah, Nauru gets 1 vote, but then India gets substantially more than that, right? Because it's representing a lot more people. But also, no matter what size you are, so a small country like Switzerland might only get like 1 or 2 votes, right? Doesn't matter, because you can get more votes by being fairer, freer, more open, giving people more rights, giving journalists rights, not killing journalists like Israel is doing. And what you'll end up with then is not just the fact that the smaller countries could club together and vote against, and get rid of this unanimous thing, get rid of the permanent members. In fact, get rid of the Security Council. It's a fucking stupid idea. Just get rid of the veto of one country should not have a veto over all the others. That's just crazy. Okay, so get rid of the veto. And essentially all the smaller countries, all the mid-sized countries could club together and overrule whatever China, India, America want to do, even though they, baseline start with more votes because they've got more people, because of these extra votes that you get by being more free, being more fair. Look at Transparency International's league table. And here's the thing. If you become less fair, if you become less free, if you appoint someone like Farage as your prime minister or Trump, you get less voting power in the UN. But if you're a up-and-coming country in somewhere in Africa, like you're Botswana, bloody hell, that is a hell of a thing. If Botswana, first amongst its the countries that border it, gets like twice as many votes for anything in the UN, and is allowed to bring forth motions, and it has special privileges because it has had free and fair elections for the last 50 fucking years, and it has a free press, and it's a lot safer as a country to be in. It gives countries an incentive. At the moment, and this is a huge problem at the UN, there is no incentive. There is no incentive not to be corrupt as fuck. Why would you be not corrupt? What is pushing you towards that goal? You don't get any extra votes in the UN. And even if you did at the moment, you'd get overridden for anything you wanted to do. Africa can't club together with its voting bloc and say, right, dickheads in the global north, you have to do something about climate change, you fuckers, because it's destroying our entire continent and all 54 countries within it, or 54 members of the UN within it. And I know that it might sound quite simplistic to say, well, you have a certain number of votes, but wouldn't that make more sense? Wouldn't that make more sense to make the UN aspirational? And at the moment, we have a UN that literally gives diplomatic immunity, like from Lethal Weapon 2, to every head of state in the world. Generally speaking, if you are the head of a country, if you're the leader of a country, whether you're head of state or prime minister, you can't be whisked away in the middle of the night. You can't be kidnapped by the UN or any other country, by the international, by the War Crimes Tribunal in The Hague. The ICC cannot come after you while you are leader, and that's why you get dinosaurs like, Omar Bongo in Gabon, or like, the best example is probably Robert Mugabe in Zimbabwe, who hung on into his 90s because he knew that once he wasn't leader anymore, he would be in trouble. He could be put on trial for his crimes. So where's the incentive to not be a leader? So you've got these two things, right? You've got an incentive to remain leader for life, like Putin, and you've got an incentive to be as corrupt as fuck, because no one's going to do you for it unless your own country decides to do you, which has happened with Slobodan Milosevic, where it wasn't until he was yeeted out of office that the Serbians handed him over to the International Criminal Court, which can still happen. This is why BB's worried about flying over Europe. Yes. Oh, no, I'm saying they can't be kidnapped. If you're wanted by the International Criminal Court, if you land in a country, this happened with Pinochet, didn't it? When he landed in Britain and he was arrested for crimes that he committed against the people of Chile. This is depending on what deals you have, your country has. That these people can be deported back to somewhere, a territory, to face criminal proceedings, to face trial for their crimes. That happened in Chile. Like Pinochet got taken to Chile, but it also happened with other leaders where they've been taken to the International War Crimes Tribunal in The Hague. Val Mugabe, before he robs you, was a popular T-shirt. Because his flight could be pulled and he can be arrested. Yeah, exactly. The dark side of international rescue, FAB. Yeah. But yeah, so what I find kind of frustrating is like nobody's talking about this. And I know I say that a lot on this channel. No one's talking about this because, it's one of my little pet peeves. But the United Nations now is actually a really good time for the mid-sized nations of the world, led by Mark Carney, because no one else seems to be standing up to the plate, right? So let Mark Carney take the lead on this, right? And say, yeah, okay, you can have the border peace, you fucking nut jobs, right? We're going to reform the UN, okay? And we're not going to give Russia a veto. Might not even give them a seat. But, Russia will get a few votes because it's got a population of, what, it's 120 million, is it? No, it's more than that, is it? 200 million? What's the population of Russia? 120. Am I getting it mixed up with Japan? Russia. Always rushing about in Russia. Russia population, 143 million is the population of Russia. So what? They get 14 representatives. You get representatives for every million people you have in your country or something. I don't know. Well, that'd be a bit mad, wouldn't it? Because China would have a 140. Maybe you'll have to have like a high end. It caps out at 20 or something. But yeah, actually no, it couldn't be that, could it? It couldn't be every million. 10 million. So they have every 10 million people, you get one. No, because that'd be too many. Yeah, they just cap it for those big fuck off countries. And also, I mean, you do worry about balkanization, but you could have a system in which parts of India had their own representative in the UN. That could be interesting. Well, that's what we did in the European Parliament. Maybe you could elect people to represent you in the UN. But the other big problem at the UN, so there's three. There's the fact that they sort of give diplomatic immunity effectively to leaders, and the veto problem. But also, there's no one in the UN. I mean, the Secretary General is kind of supposed to do this, but there's no one in the UN who represents the planet. They all represent countries, which are in themselves vested interests. When you have someone whose job it is, like get Greta Thunberg in. Go on, she's all right. Get Greta Thunberg in. And her job is, in the UN, to represent planet Earth. Not a country. Not the country she comes from. Not the region she comes from. Not her race. Not her skin colour. Not her sexuality. Not anything else. Just the planet. And maybe we have representatives from all around the world who are there not to represent narrow national interests, are there to actually represent the planet. And especially with the climate emergency that we're facing at the moment, this is going to have to be done, I think, at some point, because continuing on with what we've got is absolute fucking madness. But there's so much. It's the same thing with like starting a new political party. Every time you get upset about whatever the government's doing, you're like, let's create a new political party. And I don't always think that it's the best plan of attack, unless you're a multi-billionaire and you can fucking bankroll it, like what's happening with Refuck being bankrolled by the very, very rich and privileged. But yeah, I would like to see with the UN in particular, I'd like to see a system where we don't have to make a new one. We don't have to make a board of fucking peace or whatever Trump's trying to do, but we can actually reform the United Nations. But I don't know if that's going to be possible, especially with Russia being raised. But the reason why I say I'd like to keep the UN is because there's a lot of parts of the UN that I want to keep. UNESCO, UNHCR for the refugees, and that there's a lot of UN missions around the world keeping the peace in places that you never even think about, like Western Sahara. So yeah, there is a reason for the UN to exist. There is a lot of good things that the UN actually does do, but I think it's fundamentally flawed because it was built as an institution for rich countries, the big powers, the great powers. So they have control over everything the rest of the world is allowed to do. And that's the reality of it. And at the moment, you've got the Americans overriding any kind of thing that is anti fossil fuels. I mean, they're obsessed with it. So there you go. What do you think? Anyway, 100 million. Graham, you cannot change the rules you made for the solution you created. Move everyone around till it evens out, says Dragon. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Maybe they have a big fuck off game of musical chairs, and if you sat down at the end, you get a seat. Musical seats at the UN. Haven't seen that veg, but I saw one where Jesus flew down and slapped him to hell. Iran have done a new Trump Lego with him as a doctor. There's a rumor that someone said that the picture had been doctored, and that's why he thought the word doctor got stuck in his head. I would just like it if we banned lobbying, to be honest. Yeah, that's another good point. Lobbying, not just in the UN, but also in Parliament, in everyday life. Lobbying, people turning up and saying, "Oh, could you do us a favour? Scratch my back, I'll scratch yours." That's got to end. And that's a big problem in America. Like, that is a really, really big problem in America. The amount of lobbying since the Citizens United vote, which said that in the UN and in the American what's it called? The Security Council in the UN, the Supreme Court. That's the one. Same letters. Same thing, really. It's just a group of people who say no, like some deranged unionists from the 1980s. But yeah, it's a good point. I like the Citizens United, which was, I think it was 2011 that ruling came through. Basically, took the cap off political donations, so you can donate now billions and billions, and it's no surprise that a billionaire became president, and now he's a multi-fucking billionaire as a result of becoming president. I think from never watched Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility. Yeah, he's got no responsibility at all, does he? Mandani turned down the invite to the Met Gala. I wish that mofo was born here. Looks like he would have made a great president. He wasn't born in America. He was born in Uganda, wasn't he? He's from Uganda, I think. 55 Tufton Street as well. Yeah, lobbying should be a thing asked for, not forced upon. Well, I mean, it shouldn't be even asked for. I mean, like, you should have, in any given policy decision, you should bring in people who are going to be affected by it. And yes, that will include companies to sit down and see what they've got to say. But there should be no, private dinners and whispers in ears and all this kind of shit. I fucking hate it behind closed doors. I genuinely think that... I genuinely wish I could just change all this, but I wish that Parliament would be more open, the government would be more open, right? Here's something: unless they're discussing, unless you're discussing something on unless you're sort of something like security questions or something like that, we should be able to watch the discussions in the cabinet. Trump does this. Trump, of all, I know he doesn't do a proper cabinet meeting where they actually discuss things. He just sits there while everyone tells him how great he is, which is just so embarrassing. Yeah, I don't see why not. I don't see why we can't see what's happening in cabinet. We televise Parliament, and we have done for decades now. Back when I was a kid, there was no TV cameras in Parliament. That only happened, I think, 1989, 1990, something like that. The only time we got to see in Parliament, I think, was the state opening of Parliament. And other than that, we just got recordings of the of whoever was speaking. So what you'd have like on the news, you'd have like a picture of Thatcher, and then it would have like a voice recording of her speaking. That's fucking crazy. But now it's normal, isn't it, to have cameras filming what our politicians are saying to each other? Absolutely. It's not. It shouldn't be a private matter. These people are representing us, and I think that cabinet meetings, so long as they're not discussing anything to do with national security, whatever, I think they should be. I think they should be streamed on the fucking BBC Parliament channel, so we know what the discussions are going down. So who's saying what? And obviously, I'm not saying to do like every single one, because obviously there are times when you want to speak frankly and you wouldn't be able to if you're on TV. But even just like once a week, have that part, have that or maybe the first hour of the meeting is televised, and then it goes to the non-televised stuff, so we can actually see the decisions that people are making in real time. Why not? I don't know. You might think that's a terrible idea, but I don't know. Lobbying. Most things created for political purposes was the best intentions, as it gave charities more access to Parliament. Political transparency legislation changed to what it is now. Yeah, okay. So it was created to give charities more access. Well, fine. I mean, then have a system where, I don't know, you whenever you have a policy issue, a policy coming up, it is part of the policy that you sit down with people and maybe make that fucking streamed as well. Maybe put that, so I feel like we should have as much access as possible to the decisions that the people are making, and not just the decisions when they come out and announce it, invariably in a press conference rather than to Parliament, which is what they're meant to do. But much to the upset of Lindsay Hoyle, who complains about this all the time. But actually see the decision-making process going through. Have the bit where a member of the cabinet puts their hand up and says, "Well, if we do that, then there's a threat of this, there's a threat of that." One of the things that has come up with this Starmer bullshit is this Mandelson bullshit that's going on. I don't mean it's bullshit as in it's not true. I mean, like, it is just fucking crazy, isn't it? Bollocks. Just say Mandelson bollocks. That makes it sound like it's a lie as well. No, he's a gobshite. But all this stuff that we're going through at the moment, it smacks of this lack of transparency. If we knew a bit more about the decision-making process, this wouldn't have happened. I mean, if the fucking Prime Minister, if you take his word for it, if he knew a bit more, then that wouldn't have happened. But yeah, there you go. Okay, so okay, so I'm going to head over to the papers now. A bit of a shorter show today because we've got to go and celebrate things. Lobbying, most things created for political purposes was with the best intentions, gave the charities. I've read that one. My plan ditched the House of Lords, and the second chamber was 48% elected, 48 appointed from various sectors. Charities was one health, education, law, etc. The last few percent was a space to co-opt. That's a good idea. I think the second chamber does need to be elected. I do think it needs to be more representative of people and not just posh people. But yes, I'm going to change the goal. Remove the goal. Start another goal. Goal. I realise I'm probably not going to get 10 super chats, so I'll calm that one down a little bit. Let's see if we can get 5. Let's see if we can get 5 in the next 20 minutes or so. I'm going to be quitting a little bit earlier than normal today. Well, these shows are only supposed to be half an hour. We've already gone half an hour over. Co-opt experts to work only in specific fields, then I'll ban lobbying. Yeah. And I need to go. Says, oh no, I'm sorry, you need to go. Please stay. I thought there'd be something interesting. Soon found out there wasn't. What? Are you talking about this show? You're talking about me? National security. I wish there was a sassy drag queen superhero called Big Trans. That'd be awesome. If you watch The Boys, right, the first episodes, they had this brilliant bit where one of the supervillains, superhero supervillains, the DP, he does a bit where he's saying about how Russia are our friends now because they've always been our friends and they don't put up with wokeness and trans bathrooms. And you're like, oh my God, that is something that Trump might actually say. Paula Thomas, thank you very much. For the trouble with public cabinet meetings, look at the US. They have such meetings, but it means decisions are taken before the meeting. Yeah, I know. Look, it'll need a bit of working out of how you balance it. I'm not saying that every single meeting of the cabinet needs to be televised necessarily, but I would like to, when you get a new cabinet, or it's reshuffle or something, they'll take a photo of the cabinet or like sitting around, the prime minister's there. And I just wish that we had more of an open system where we could actually sort of scrutinize the thinking on this. So we have a cabinet meeting and it's going to be, we get a briefing of what they're going to be talking about. And I think it'd be really helpful as well, because when you're doing exams and stuff, often it's the teacher or the examiner will say, show you're working out. The reason for that is you could still actually get some points, even if you get the question wrong. Because if you just put the wrong answer, especially in mathematics, this is important, right? If you just put the wrong answer down, then you're going to get no points, right? But if you show the working out and there's something that went wrong in the working out, but you had the right, you knew how to do it, it was just there was a mistake or you copied a number down incorrectly, you might actually get some credit, a little bit, right? And the same is true in any kind of decision that is made in politics. At the moment, we're just given the result. We're just given this number, 1,138. There you go. There's your number. And you're like, but why? How did you get to this number? Now, it might turn out that number is wrong. This happens quite a lot with governments, especially ours. But to have the working out, to have the bit where someone actually put their hand up in the meeting and said, well, what about this? Did you think about this? What if this happens? Then at least it's been said, and we can go back through the decision-making process to suss out the point where that was, the bad decision was made. And it might give a little bit of credit to the government instead of them having to look like a bunch of fucking dickheads, which is what happens quite frequently, doesn't it? One for Kat's birthday. That's from Martin Harrow. Thank you. And have a great day with Kat. I'll thank you very much to Sean as well. That's very kind of you. Hi all in chat. A wee bit of a drink for a wee bit for Catherine's birthday drink. Sticky bun or cake. Coffee, sticky bun or cake. We'll absolutely have to do that. Let's get a sticky bun. Super chat counter isn't working there before. It was because it started a little bit before. So there you go. It started a little bit before it was meant to. So there you go. 5 now. I could trigger the confetti, but let me do the papers quickly first. So it's 10 o'clock. Paper time. Mandelson hired after failing to pass vetting. Oh, there you go. PM must resign for misleading MPs, say Tories. And then we've got Trump hails a 10-day ceasefire in Lebanon. We've got the SMP supermarket cap there. We've got the COVID jab payments. We've got the arson investigations. Drug smugglers sunk. We have a $3 billion dive for airlines and All England semi there as well. Have a great day, Graham and Kat. Oh, thank you very much, Saz. It's very kind of you. Thank you. And then we've got the Pope holding a bird. I don't know if the bird wants to be held, but there you go. Pope holding the bird. My point is, you'll get less of that and not more. Decisions will be less transparent. Yes, Miss Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the super chat, and I will launch the confetti in a moment. No, but what I'm saying is that you wouldn't have all the meetings televised, and I guess that's what you're saying with the Trump meetings, where they televise the bit where they all say how great Trump is. But I think there is a happy medium. At the moment, we get nothing. We get no information whatsoever from what is discussed or what points are brought up. But also, I mean, it would give people more of a knowledge of who these people are who are making decisions. Who are they? Because otherwise they stand up in front of Parliament and read pre-prepared statements. We don't get to know who they are. And these people represent us. So, a little bit more transparency would be good. And I'm not saying they'd have to they'd have to show everything. But I'm a great believer in the Socratic method. I think that the best way to sort out any kind of given problem is by a group of humans getting together and having a discussion about it and having to defend their position and having to explain why they're doing what they're doing and why they're doing it that way. I think it really, really helps. It's why I like talking about politics on this show, on not this show. I do like talking about it on this show, but on shows where, like the agenda with Phil, where we might challenge each other. We might, have a little bit of a debate on why we believe the things that we believe, or why we think that the world is so, or why Labour did this stupid fucking thing. So yeah, it's ups and downs, lefts and rights, curveballs and confetti. Thank you, Miss Paula Thomas, for the confetti. The super chat there for the confetti. Thank you very much. I will be buying a cat a sticky bun. More Georgia, less war. Mail needs the finances of its editors looking at. The Dove of Peace. Daily Fail moans about vettings. The joke writes themselves. I know. Starmer on brink as his Mandelson lies are exposed. The Daily Mail, that could have just had the headline. Is that it? Sensation as number 10 admits Labour peer failed security vetting. Party leaders accused PM of lying to MPs and say he now must resign. Incredulity as Sir Keir blames officials and pleads ignorance. So that's his ignorance is bliss kind of attitude towards it. There's a disgraced peer, Peter Mandelson, looking. If what's the name of the guy who played the Great Sparrow in Lord of the Rings, in Game of Thrones? Jonathan Pierce. Jonathan Pierce is his name? Is that it? Am I just making that up? He was in The Two Popes with Anthony Hopkins. Jonathan, and he was also in Brazil, if you remember that far back. I don't mean the country, I mean the film. Is it Jonathan Pierce? Is it? No, it's not. Jonathan. Oh, what's his name? Oh, God, this is going to annoy me now. Jonathan, actor, Game of Thrones. Jonathan Price, not Pierce, Price. Jonathan Price. What do you reckon? Jonathan Price playing Mandelson in the movie. Me and Jeff the pedo. Anyway, 10 years after his death, Prince. That was a sad loss. Revealed Mandelson failed security vetting for US role. Trump proclaims 10-day ceasefire in Lebanon. Everyone forgot about this, but Lebanon was still having the shit bombed out of it by Israel. While all eyes were on Iran, it was quietly, noisily bombing its neighbour, Lebanon, for no good reason other than, the people running Israel at the moment are a right gang of fucking arseholes. We've got, this is Arsenal, ex-Arsenal keeper, Alex Manninger, who was killed in a crash. I don't know why they have to show the actual fucking crash. That's quite traumatic. There's a related top of the above the banner head thing here on the Tory graph, saying Britain has never needed a summer of sex more, and at the same time, gentleman's relish has been thrown a lifeline. What is it? The summer of sex. Keir Starmer accused of misleading Parliament over Mandelson, which we talked about before. The Prime Minister's position is scarcely credible. He cannot survive, says Tom Harris, who's a gobshite. Hundreds of flights axed in fuel crisis. And crayfish dies after tankmate is liberated. This is a daft story about, there was a restaurant that had crayfish and someone took the crayfish out of the tank and there was another crayfish in there and then the other crayfish died. It's not a fucking restaurant, for Christ's sake. What do you think was going to happen to it? I don't think they were keeping it as a pet. World ravaged by tyrants, says Pope. Yes, like Trump. LIV golf on the brink are over Saudi cost cutting. LIV... Is that LIV? Is that 54? I don't know. 54 golf players and staff have been told that Saudi funding is only guaranteed until the end of the season, leading to fears that breakaway circuit will have to look for outside investment. And there you go. And then we got a really funny story about a guy called Andy Mycock who says, I think my name's bad. My mother is called Pat. Pat my cock. Cool. We've got 2 pictures of Brooklyn Beckham's mum, who was in a pop group in the 1990s, Sugar Babes or something. We've always tried to be the best parents we can be. I don't give a fuck. I honestly couldn't give a shit. I couldn't give the slightest, tiniest fuck about the fact that there's some rich Nepo baby who he's falling out with his parents because all the things that his parents tried to help him with, like his shit music career, his shit fucking acting career, his shit fucking photography career, his shit fucking modeling career, his shit fucking cooking career, or whatever the fuck he tried to do, he was shit at it. And I'm like, okay, cool. He got a publishing deal. For a bunch of shit fucking photos because his parents are rich. Do you know how hard it is to get a publishing deal in this country? Do you know how hard it is? It's not what you know. It's not who you know. It's what you know about who you know. A Kremlin threat. Putin's Brit hit list revealed. Russian tyrant Vladimir Putin has drawn up a list of 4 UK locations he could target for backing the Ukraine war effort. The shadow war threat comes days after Britain said it would supply Kyiv with 120,000 drones. Ex-government advisor Colonel Richard Kemp said this is a direct threat against ordinary people, as Russians name 4 locations as possible targets for sabotage over the Ukraine links. And then we have the I newspaper. Pope versus Trump. License fee is nearing the end of his end of life. BBC insiders despair at 10% job cuts, and I don't like that headline. I really don't want the BBC to go the way of other commercial channels, to become a commercial channel. I don't want it to be, you know. I mean, maybe there's an argument for it getting a bursary from the government that's paid for out of taxes. Could argue for that, but it has to be independent. It cannot be the government of the day. Don't like what you've been saying about us on the BBC, so say nice things or we won't give you your money. But then again, I mean, the Tories have talked about scrapping the license fee for fucking years because they don't control it. They should have kept Bake Off. Yes, they should. It's very true. But it's still out on Channel 4. The Mirror comments section online is toxic. All the reform bots love commenting on there. Yeah. Was in a bar in town and Sporty was in there. Maybe everyone was looking, saying, is it her? She kicked off. Okay, so Starmer in peril again as number 10. Turns to the Foreign Office, turns on the Foreign Office. And then we've got Naga Machete on medical misogyny. Presenter's late diagnosis after 32 years of pain. Fucking hell. We've got the Daily Express here. Starmer must resign after blatant lies to MPs. Okay, I'm going to sneeze. Sorry about that. Had a little bit of a sneeze. Starmer must resign after blatant lies to MPs. Is the cover from the this is from the Daily Express. Will Zoe have a ball on Strictly? I don't know. Strictly's been a bit tainted, hasn't it, with all these sex scandals and things and rape scandals. I mean, sex scandals. It's really quite grim. And it's got the story there about the former Arsenal goalkeeper. He was only 48. In a tragic accident. And then we have the Duchess of Sussex there, smiling, looking gorgeous. And I mean, you know, I know I complain about the royals being on the front cover, but, you know, these royals are all right. And Meghan saying I was the most trolled person in the world. That was the cover yesterday as well, wasn't it? Yes, she was. She absolutely fucking... Because she was. She was. No doubt about it. People said, oh, just something about her I don't like. No one could articulate what it was that they didn't like about her. They were just told to not like her by the newspapers that said, don't like this woman. She's terrible. Why is she terrible? Oh, she says things. PM misled MPs over Mandelson security vetting there, and the Trump claims credit for 10-day Lebanon ceasefire, which has nothing to do with him. Always ready to take the credit, this guy. Posh Brex Brooklyn silence. Is Sophie still murdering on the dance floor? I hope not. And then Hit and Kiss. J-Lo bites back to make song and dance of jail drama. Okay, cool. We're going to go to the Financial Times now. I'm just sparing you your blushes while it shows a bloody advert. because if you change the screen, it goes to another. Financial Times here. The economic cost of school absenteeism. We must shield children from social media. Israel, Lebanon, truce agreed. Trump says Starmer accused of after revelation that Mandelson failed vetting for US post. Opponents have said Parliament's been misled. Number 10 denies ministers knew. Questions over security process. The news in briefs now. Let me change into my briefs. Reeves pushes to sever gas link to electricity prices. Chancellor Rachel Reeves has said she wants to cut the link between electricity and gas prices as ministers seek to cut exposure to fossil fuel costs. Well, if it's only making 3% of the mix, why are we paying so much for everything? EasyJet fuel warning. Low-cost airline EasyJet and flag carrier Lufthansa have warned of the impact of soaring fuel prices because of Trump. Walsh assists in spotlight. Democratic senators are piling pressure on the U.S. Federal Reserve Chair nominee Kevin Walsh over what they say is $100 million plus of undisclosed assets ahead of his confirmation hearing. Congratulations, you've won nothing. You've won the chance to get a computer virus. Taiwan overtakes UK. Taipei's stock market has eclipsed London's in total value, making it the world's 7th largest as the AI boom fires demand for chips made by TSMC, the biggest contract chip maker in the world. One of the things that drove the London stock market off its perch was Brexit. Economy beats forecasts. Official data has revealed robust activity in the economy before the Mideast war triggered a jump in energy prices, with expansion of 0.5% in February, led by the services sector. Repsol in Venezuela win. Sorry, that was a win. And then another Venezuela win. The Spanish energy company has signed a deal with Caracas to hand back operational control of its assets in the country and raise production with a guaranteed payment plan. It's nice for the energy group, fossil fuel fucking group. Fossil fuel gobshites win big. Russia kills 17 in Ukraine. At least 17 people have been killed and scores more wounded in one of the largest aerial attacks of the war, in which Moscow pounded Kyiv and Odessa, Dnipro and Zaporizhia. Because that's what Russia does. Fucking gobshites. Absolute fucking gobshites killing Europeans left, right and centre and not being brought to book for it. Goldman out Fox. US banks fixed income traders have been wrong-footed by the Iran war, which ended monetary policy expectations and led to losses from positions on global interest rates. And then we have Brussels relaxes stance on mergers to foster and drive to foster European champions. The EU is planning its biggest relaxation on the rules of corporate mergers in 20 years as Europe faces increasing pressure to build champions capable of taking on US and Chinese rivals. I can see their thinking, I can see their logic, but also at the same time, it's a bit shit because I don't want to see Omnicorp take over fucking everything. Premier League clubs rack up losses close to £800 million. Premier League clubs lost nearly £800 million in total last season, revealing the challenges for investors who have spent big buying teams in the world's most popular football league. Accounts from the top 20 teams in England's top flight, covering the 2024-25 season, showed 14 clubs with reported pre-tax losses, with Chelsea, Tottenham Hotspur and West Ham suffering the most. This comes despite league revenues rising to more than 6.8 billion from 6.3 billion a year earlier. So they've got all this money, they just can't work out how to make money out of all their money. Yeah. Anyway, Regan Elite. Hello, Regan. How you doing? This jolly morning? They want rid of Starmer no matter what. They are paying more under Labour. Just the tax on private education affects the staff at newspapers. Russia can't even finish its dinner. It can't and have pudding. Yeah, indeed. They want rid of Starmer no matter what. They are paying more under Labour. It's just a tax on private education that affects the staff at newspapers. Yeah, it absolutely does. All BBC is now weird bloody costume dramas and Londoners screeching at each other in a weird square with no cars. Yes. There's too many costume dramas. It's just like what are posh people doing? Well, let's find out what the posh people are doing, and then it's like, let's find out what the working class are doing, or what we imagine the working class are doing in EastEnders. Oh, they're all screaming at each other and crying and robbing each other. The bear's getting desperate as it piles more soldiers into the drone meat grinder. Absolutely. Talking about Russia and just being fucking crazy. That's all in my bag. That's all in a bag in my boot, Scott. Leftover camping stuff from last summer. Yeah, what? You can't have any pudding if you don't eat your meat. You can't have pudding if you don't eat your meat. There you go. We don't need no education. Yeah, so Trump, truce agreed. Trump says, ... Yeah, bullshit. Radio 4 yesterday afternoon, we're on about people being prepared for emergencies. Wind up radios, candles, torches, tin food and water, etc. Well, before we got the deal with the EU, me and quite a few people that we knew, we stocked up for, with goods in case there were shortages at the supermarkets. And I was interviewed about this in the newspaper. There's a photo of me in the kitchen with like my shitty hoodie on. And I was just saying, like, it's not the fact that it's not the fact that that we think there's going to be a nuclear apocalypse. I'm not digging a bunker in the backyard, but we just had to make sure that we got a few essentials, and so we had like a Brexit stockpile, and it just had like dried goods, rice, lots of rice, lots of flour, lots of spaghetti, and then loads of tinned goods. That we would buy anyway. We're just buying a little bit more when we could, just in case. And of course, the no deal Brexit never went ahead, thank heavens, because that would have been disastrous. But if it had gone ahead, there would have been shortages at the supermarkets. End of. But that stockpile came in really fucking handy, because what did happen? Fucking COVID. We didn't run out of toilet paper. Anyway, so that was the weird thing. Everyone went, quick, get loads of toilet paper. We're going to run out of toilet paper. I don't know why that sort of captured the imagination. Anyway, right. So, they need gas-powered stations on standby as a base for the grid. Yeah. I mean, yeah. But the reality is that we are moving away from gas. There might be a few days, well, at least one day this summer, but maybe a few days when the nation is entirely run on not fossil fuels. It might not be entirely run on green stuff, because obviously you've got biomass, which isn't particularly green, as we discussed the other day, the carbon capture bullshit. But also you've got nuclear in there, which you can sort of argue isn't very green, because although it's great for making a lot of power with very, very limited amount of fuel, makes a lot of power. You have the huge problem with what to do with the stuff afterwards, which has always been a bit of a headache for nuclear power stations. They take a long time to decommission. With an Iraqi in-house, we eat a hell of a lot of rice. I love rice. Been in a big rice mood lately. My secret ingredient is chicken stock. Yeah. So for those who maybe make rice the incorrect way, which is to put it in the microwave in a rice cooker. What are you doing using a rice cooker? Use a pan, right? And whatever amount of rice that you have, right? You need the same amount plus half. Okay. So if you get a cup, a mug, and you fill half of it with rice, you need it 3/4 full of water. So pour the rice in, pour the water. Don't bother washing it. Don't bother getting rid of the starch. You don't have to do that. It's a waste of time, right? Right. Leave the top off. Bring it to boil, right? And then put the top on. Take it down to a very low heat and just leave it until it feels right. I'm going to say about 17 to 19 minutes, depending on the amount of rice you've got in there. Leave the top on. Do not take the top off. Don't check on it. It helps if you've got a glass top. If you haven't got a glass top, it's fine. Just leave it on. When I was in Bocas, I didn't have a lid for my pot when I was making some rice. So what I did was I got a bit of tin foil, put the tin foil, and I got I got my, the bit of wood that said super chat on it, and I put that on top of the tin foil to keep it, and it made perfect, fluffy, gorgeous rice. That's how you do it. I was taught to make rice many moons ago by a couple who stayed with me who were from Hong Kong, and up to that point I'd been making it wrong, and it had either come out too wet and sloppy, or it had like fucking welded itself to the bottom of the pan whenever I tried to make it in a pan. And they were like, "Here's how you do it." Up to that point, I in the UK, I had a rice cooker that I used. Well, not, those plastic rice things, and you put the rice in the top, you put the water underneath, and you put the lid on, and you put it in the microwave. Yeah, that's cheating as far as but there you go. No, you don't have to wash it. You don't have to. To be honest with you, it depends what kind of rice you're using, but I never bother washing it anymore. It's a waste of time, I think. Nuclear is far safer these days than I was taught growing up, and nuclear waste can be vitrified and buried in mines. Not my mine, though. Not my mine. I don't want radioactive stuff in my mine. I want mines in my mine, not mine. Not radioactive mines from the ships that are blown up. Anyway, shut up, Graham. Judge George, thank you very much for your opinion on rice. Aren't petitioning and writing to your MPs form of lobbying? I'm skeptical about ending all forms of lobbying. I think it needs to be structured. That's it. And obviously writing to your MP is fair enough. And you're not writing, unless your company is based in their constituency, you shouldn't be writing to that MP, should you? So yeah, it's I think it needs to be more structured, because writing to your MP is structured. If you try and write to an MP that's not your MP, they won't let you. Handy hint: if you make stuff in a casserole dish, put an air fryer liner in first. It makes the washing up far easier. Yes, that is very true. That is a good handy hint. The air fryer liner, you can use baking paper, can't you, in an air fryer? When you do that, it stops it getting all yucky. The new solar panel balcony kit's coming out soon. 800 watts. You plug it into the wall and hang them on your fence to do your washing. That's kind of cool. But yeah, 800 watts is amazing. That is fantastic. That is a lot. That is some fucking oomph out of a solar panel. But yeah, apparently there's a lot of cool things going on right now when it comes to solar panels, and I'm hoping that Labour are going to go full tilt for subsidies, as I've been talking about, for insulation, for heat pumps, for ways of making your house more fuel efficient. And as we move more towards electrical heating, away from fossil fuel heating, I want to see that energy price comes down. And if Rachel Reeves is considering uncoupling the price of gas from the price of the energy mix, I think that would be a really, really good idea, especially as in some days, at some times, gas is only accounting for 3% of our energy mix nationwide. I mean, fuck it. Why is that making everything so much more expensive? They're selling those balcony solar kits on Amazon now, supposed to be going to be in Lidl as well. Fantastic. Great stuff. Perhaps the government should issue everyone a plug-in battery, solve all the energy distribution problems. Yeah, Andy, that's a very good idea, but I think that's going to happen anyway, because everyone's going to have an electric car. If the electric car's plugged in, that's two-way electricity. So as long as it's not plugged into an electrical socket on the wall, if they're plugged into a specialist socket that's been, put in by an electricity company, it's two-way. So you can actually drain power out of your battery, and that means that you'll have 30 million batteries around the country, and you'll be able to use that to balance the grid. Although we do need to have better ways of transmitting the cables. I spoke about that the other day. Like at the moment, the cables are like this big. They need to be like this big or whatever. We need bigger, thicker cables, essentially. I know it's more complicated than that, but you lose power. The further electricity travels down wires, the more it loses power as it goes. So the power that we're making up in Scotland now, the renewable power we're making up in Scotland, the renewable power that we're making off the coast here in the northeast is phenomenal, but it can't always get to London, which requires a lot of power, but also doesn't produce much power itself. All things being equal, pick up the slack with southeast people, because a lot of people in the southeast are like, no solar panels, we're not having solar power, we're not having any wind turbines around here, blah, blah, blah. Bunch of bloody NIMBYs. Bunch of bloody NIMBYs. Anyway, so new rules come out too. We are no longer allowed to fit solar batteries in the attic due to fires. That's understandable. Yeah. It's got to be safety first, as with many things in life. But yeah, I don't want people having people having the house burnt down because they got solar panels wrongly installed. And yeah, it is a bit dangerous. My house in Bogus nearly burnt down because the solar panels were not wired correctly. We had to replace the boards on the wall that had the scorch marks, and the actual solar box that the cables went into. The solar controller that it went into, like the plastic melted on it, and yeah, bit scary. But then don't buy a cheap solar controller. There's your story there. Own house, but 999-year lease, says cannot be add or altered, no panels. Oh my God. You got a 999-year lease, but they say it can't be altered. Well, they could use surplus power for electrolysis, store the H2 as a power battery. Maybe. Anyway, right, gotta get going. Gotta go out. Gotta go get some lefty lunch. So thank you very much for watching. I think you are all awesome and incredible and wonderful people. I wish I could be with you this afternoon for the agenda, but we're going to postpone that. We might do it tomorrow. We might do it over the weekend. Might do it on Sunday. I don't know. We will have to see. But I wish you all the best for the Friday night social tonight. Wish Mike all the best for that. I'll get in touch with him now and see if he's got all the assets that he requires. And until I see you again, let me say thank you very much for the birthday wishes. Thank you very much for the super chats. It's very, very exquisitely kind of you. I will be back on Sunday, probably Sunday evening. I'm going to be doing a Sunday sermon, but it might be in the evening. I'll try not to interfere with anyone else who's doing any live streams on Sunday either. So until then, I'll say thank you so much for watching. Thanks for supporting this channel. Thanks for sticking with us through thick and thin. If you haven't given us a like, please give us a like. We always like a like on this channel. And if you're not subscribed, just hit the subscription button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell notification icon in order to be notified when Sunday sermon comes on Sunday, unless you've already done that. Get your notifications on. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. And until next time, take care. Have a great weekend. And until I see you on Sunday, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.